You know the retired hitman trope. It's a whole genre. The brooding, stoic loner, living in solitude, haunted by the ghosts of his past. He's a man of few words and immense regret. Well, throw that entire archetype out the window because a new manga just dropped in Morning Magazine, and its protagonist, the legendary assassin known as Nighthawk, is currently passed out on a futon, surrounded by beer cans, used tissues, and a vibrator she definitely did not wash after the last time she used it. This isn't John Wick. This is what happens when John Wick gives up, maxes out his credit cards on gacha games, and becomes a 33-year-old girl failure who hasn't paid rent in 3 months. This is Nighthawk Returns, and its first chapter is one of the funniest, grimy, and unexpectedly debuts I've read in a while. So the series opens exactly how you'd expect a Hitman story to start, with the group of bodyguards surrounding a luxury house. It's got that classic, something very bad is about to happen energy. The bodyguards are talking about the legendary hitman Nighthawk, an assassin so feared, she single-handedly wiped out the entire Tachibana family. One guard scuffs, it's just a myth, and in that very moment, he realizes his partners have gone silent because they're all dead. Shadowy hooded figure appears behind him. Just like that, the legend is real. We get some narration that Hajime Hayashi, president of the Maker Staff Temp Agency, was found dead along with 39 bodyguards. The massacre, later called the Last Hunt, gets covered up immediately because apparently in this world, HR actually works overtime. And with that, Nighthawk spread her wings and disappeared into the night, never to be seen again. Poof. Gone. Like a ghost. And then we cut to said ghost, and she is a mess. We find Yotaka, that's her real name, in what can only be described as a biohazard zone masquerading as an apartment. She's slightly overweight, draped in a ragged t-shirt, lying on a stained futon. The decor: empty beer cans, an ashtray overflowing with cigarette butts, used tissues that have seen things no tissue should have ever seen, and right there in plain sight is her vibrator, just sitting there like a character in a Toy Story movie waiting for its moment. The contrast is glorious. This woman used to be an urban legend, and is now one step away from being the before picture in the rehab pamphlet. The once legendary instrument of death is now a NEET, a chain-smoking, alcoholic, unemployed blob of human potential. And that's when we meet Kohai, which is not his real name, but the chapter never gives us his real name, so I'm just going to be using the nickname that we see in the premise. Kohai is, he's basically the straight man in this comedic duo. He's a younger guy who visits under the flimsy pretext that her apartment is closer than the park smoking area. He's the only thread connecting her to her old life. He pulls out a hamburger bento to eat, and Yutaka immediately demands it like a child demanding a toy at the mall. He tells her to get her own, and her reasoning is peak broke logic. The store bentos are too small and overpriced. This launches Kohai into a glorious exposition dump that is equal parts informative and utterly roasting. So I'm going to kind of paraphrase it a bit. He tells her, even though you retired, you blew all the money you made killing people on gambling and gacha games. You tried a few part-time jobs, but couldn't get any to stick. Now you're begging me for lunch. And with rent piling up on this pigsty, you're in deep, huh? And Yutaka's response? She gets teary-eyed. Not out of anger, not out of guilt, but out of pure woe is me energy. And this is when Kohai makes his pitch. His agency isn't doing great. Competition is fierce. The higher-ups are just dying for Nighthawk to make a comeback. He tells her, you'll get money, we'll get a legend back in the game. It's a win-win for both of us. But Yutaka refuses. I quit being an assassin because I hated the job. And to emphasize how little she cares, she gets up to use the bathroom and doesn't bother closing the door. The level of casual, unhinged disrespect is astonishing. And while she's committing toilet crimes, Kohai remembers something. We get a flashback where he's at a urinal next to his boss, who delivers the most chilling corporate mandated hit ever. Convince her to come back. If she refuses, she's just dead weight. Get rid of her. The Kohai is here on an assassination mission against the world's most dangerous assassin, which makes him either incredibly brave, incredibly stupid, or the perfect example of corporate workers doing things wildly outside of their job description. Yutaka comes out of the bathroom. Kohai, ever the pragmatist, asks, did you wash your hands? She did it. He sighs, gives her the rest of his bento out of pity, and says he's heading back to work. "Can I use your ashtray first?" he asks. It's a ruse. The moment he gets close, he pulls a knife and stabs at her. And what happens next is a thing of beauty. It's a single, fluid, 2-page spread that proves a terrifying point. You can take the assassin out of the game, but you can't take the game out of the assassin. In a move that's part ballet, part pro wrestling, Yutaka, this slovenly, seemingly helpless woman, blocks the blade, kicks it into the air, does a flip onto Kohai's shoulders, catches the knife mid-air, and then hurricanranas him to the floor, ending up posed on his chest with the blade ready to strike. It's instantaneous. The legend flickers back to life for just a second, and then it's gone. She sighs. "You almost made my hands dirty again, and not just because I didn't wash them." The delivery of this line is so perfectly gross and badass at the same time. She drops the knife on his chest and says, "That's no good. Point something like this at me, and I might start remembering again. Got it?" She climbs off of him, and her first concern isn't the attempted murder, but the fact that this little interaction caused her to spill all of her beer. "Because of your half-ass ambush, I'm all out of life fuel." She demands he buy her more, but he's already slunk away. And then the final nail in the coffin of her dignity arrives. Her landlord. He lays into her about the 3 months of unpaid rent, the filth, the shut-off water. "At your age, you should be finding a job and getting married. Have you no shame?" Yutaka is on the verge of crying again. The landlord drops his final warning. Pay the rent within a month, or you're out. He leaves, and reality drop kicks her directly in the face. She checks her bank account, and the manga gives us the most devastating financial panel I've ever seen. 211 yen, which is about $1.36. So yeah, she has about $1.36 in the bank. Ugh. Her soul literally leaves her body when she sees this. We cut to a convenience store where Kohai is actually buying her beer, probably out of guilt, or fear, or both. Then there's a loud thwack against the window, and he turns, and it's Yutaka, her face comically pressed up against the glass, staring at him with the desperate eyes of a hungry raccoon. She bursts in, drops to her knees in a formal seizai bow, and begs, "Give me a job." And that's where the chapter ends, with the perfect loop. An assassin who hates killing, begging for work because gacha pulls and alcoholism teamed up to create the ultimate raid boss. I love this first chapter. It's refreshing because most retired assassin stories go for sad, gritty, tortured dudes who brood about their sins. Yutaka is none of that. She's a hedonistic burnout, a comedic, lazy, self-destructive, gacha-addicted train wreck, a gremlin woman, a girl failure. She's the perfect waifu material. Kohai, on the other hand, works solidly as the straight man, the weary corporate middle manager whose job just happens to be handling a washed-up weapon of mass destruction. The dynamic is set. He's going to drag her, kicking and screaming, back into a world she loathes, and we get to watch the glorious mess that ensues. The artwork is a character in itself. It's highly detailed, realistic, and grimy. It feels like it belongs in a hard-boiled crime thriller, which makes the absurd comedy land even harder. The contrast between the pristine, dramatic action of the flashback and the disgusting, cluttered reality of Yutaka's apartment is genius. This first chapter masterfully sets up the central question. Is Yutaka a legendary assassin trapped in a NEET's body, or is she a NEET who just happens to have a terrifying, deeply buried set of skills she'd rather forget? The answer is probably both. Watching that internal conflict play out, with beer cans and knife fights, is going to be an absolute treat. Nighthawk Returns isn't just a story about an assassin making a comeback. It's a story about becoming a poor NEET, realizing you suck at normal jobs, and that the only marketable skill you have is murder. I'm interested to see where the story goes. How did Yutaka become Nighthawk? Why did she really quit? Was it really just because she hated the job, or was there some other factor involved? But yeah, for our first chapter, this is a pretty interesting start. It's funny, it's stylish, it's weird, and the best of all, it's promising. I can't wait to see where Fuyuki Izumida takes us from here. If you've ever wondered what would happen if you cross La Femme Nikita with the hedonistic slob, this is the manga for you. But yeah, what do you think? Is Yutaka a new favorite, or is her lifestyle a little too relatable for comfort? Let me know in the comments down below. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I mentioned this in the previous video, but I am currently sick. So yeah, forgive like just the tone of my voice and maybe some of the ways I had to pronounce certain words. I have to combat not only a stuffy nose, which makes it hard to breathe while I'm talking, but also a really sore throat that just hurts to talk. So yeah, next few videos are probably going to be in the same because I tend to record these type of videos in batches. But I hope you can put up with it, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.